Welcome to Soft Bites Podcast. Your life, your dentistry. We talk about ways to have more fun and meaning in one of the coolest and most rewarding professions in medicine. Conversations on how to bring awareness, create a healthy workplace, and provide emotional insights to make dentistry a fulfilling activity while making space for one's wonder, creativity, and freedom. Here are your hosts, Manuela and George Andre.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Soft Bites Podcast. How are you, George Andre?
I'm fine. Since last week, we spent 4 days in Sagres.
Yeah, it was.
It was nice.
It was really nice. It was really nice. It was a really nice group. It was really nice weather, beautiful setting as always, magic surrounding.
Yeah.
So it was really, really nice. And
I
this,
thought about that a lot. When I was there, I was thinking about that a lot. How cool the place is.
yeah, it's really magical. Yeah, it gives
How many people did we have? 14, right?
We had 14. We had 14 participants. But this time we had a special feature. So we challenged the dentists that were joining us to bring someone of their team if they wish, because part of what we teach has a lot to do with implement protocols in your practice. So you will need the help of your team. And some of the participants, some of the dentists accepted our challenge. So they brought their assistants and managers to the course, and it was really nice. What did you thought of that?
I thought it was very helpful for them because what happens sometimes is that when they come to the course and then sometimes they come alone or they come with their wife or husband because sometimes they're a couple, and I think it's difficult to try to pass on what they learned and discussed for those 3 days. It's difficult to pass that along to the dental team. Sometimes it's like I wish they would say I wish they were here to understand this, because it's difficult that all of a sudden you get your team and you try to implement all those changes. So I think and I think that we will continue on with that for the future for sure, because it's very helpful for them.
And actually we had this idea because we had a previous participant of the course asking that. So when she did the course, she did the course because she was planning on opening her practice. And now that she asked us, could I attend the course again? And this time, can I take my assistant? Because and she said it because I will need her to have this knowledge in order for me to be able to implement this, because I cannot do this alone. And for us, it made all sense when she asked us that, and so we decided to challenge the other dentists to bring someone from the staff also. And from the feedback that we had, it can be very overwhelming if with everything that we bring to the course and all the tools and all the knowledge. So when it's like you leave the course very motivated, but when you arrive to the clinic, and you can feel very overwhelmed, and again it can be one more thing that you have to do alone. So it can be one more factor of stress, and that's not what we want. So if you have someone from your team to also not only to help you, but also to understand the reason why you should do certain things, and to help you also to adapt, because also what we want is not only for you to implement, is for you to adapt certain things, and some of the tools that we give you, you need to adapt to your reality. So, and to have someone else help you with that, and I think it can make all the difference. Can really make all the difference.
One thing that I realized that I think that we are getting better at this course, because I think that we are more
At
straight to
least,
the point.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that with time we get to understand what we get to optimize the those 3 days. It gets very interactive. It gets. I think that that with experience you start to focus more on what interests them, and I think that these 3 days, of course, students are the ones that should tell, right? But I think that these 2 days were extremely productive for them, and yeah, I think we are getting better, and I think that the course is really, if if I try to place myself out of my shoes, that of course it's I'm always biased, right? But I think it's a really nice course, and I really wish that I could have done something like that before opening my practice, or in the early days, or whenever I wanted to transform my practice. So yeah. Another thing, another thing that I think it's cool for them to bring their staff, either manager or nurses, is because, and this happens to me as well. And when I give this class, I usually ask my nurses to come, because your staff starts to understand your point of view, how difficult it is to be a leader. So they start to place themselves in the other person's shoes. And they start to realize, and I think that if you're a staff member, if you're a nurse and you're there listening to this course about leadership, about conscious leadership, and realize how difficult this task is, and how overwhelming this is, and how many variables, how emotionally balanced you need to be, all of the things that you need to I mean, to take into account when you open a practice, when you lead a team, all those nuances about trying to be their best friend, but also at the same time trying to be their parent, right? So it's so difficult, and I think it's very good for them to see the other side, because I think they get out of there with a higher appreciation for the person that is leading, and then they realize that sometimes they misjudge their own leaders. They say, well, they are doing this because of that. Well, actually, they realize that most of the people come from a place of goodwill, but they just don't have the tools to do it better, right? And I think that there they realize that actually um, it's very difficult to lead dental teams, especially when they start to get bigger and bigger. I mean, if you have a couple of nurses, a couple of dentists, then you know how it is, right? So yeah, so I think that's also important.
Another thing that we also said is that it takes courage
Yes,
to do
to
that,
bring the staff.
to bring the staff. It really takes courage, because one of the things that we talk about is that you should lead by example, and also sometimes you are hearing these things, or and you are saying, okay, I maybe that's not the way that I do things, and then you have a
Yes,
witness next to you that know exactly
yeah,
how you work, because if someone knows what's going on that practice, and if someone knows you is
yeah,
your assistants, it's true. It's true.
yeah. And
So
you cannot lie, right? You cannot say, "Oh, I do this and I do that," because actually they are there and they will not let you lie. Yeah.
they know
So
everything. They know
yeah,
everything.
so
Yeah.
it was very nice. I think the course is getting more mature, and I think it's very. I think that one of the things that sometimes happens in courses, that it becomes excessive and tiring. And I always believe that it's better to get them. It's better to pass on 3 or 4 or 5 very strong ideas, and to try to pass 20 ideas that you'll not implement. And I think it's very balanced at this point in time. I think the course is very balanced for those 3 days. I think it makes perfect sense what we cover, and also the verbal aikido. I think they appreciate that a lot. So I think, yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
for the
stay
one
tuned for the next
yeah,
edition.
for the ones asking what is the verbal aikido, you have to come to the course to witness it, because it's always a highlight of the course, and
Yes.
we always have fun.
Yes.
with that. But it's really insightful. I think it's really, and it's and I can understand, for example, when we had the guest Mehi, and they have Dentorama, which is a theatrical play, and you are going to be there. I'm looking forward to hear your feedback about that. I wish I could go one day. But
Yes,
it's all about that. It's all about the
well,
theatrical part of it, and we do a little bit of that also.
yeah. And it's very interesting to see how triggered dentists are
Yeah.
by some situations.
Mhm,
Very,
mhm,
very cool.
mhm.
Yeah, so I think this episode should also be called Balance from Last Course or something like plus what we are going to
Yeah.
talk next.
Okay, so let's get into, and this has a lot to do with with the relationship also with dentists and assistants, what we are going to talk
Mhm.
about. And uh, I don't know if we ever talked about this in a very superficial way, but maybe.
I think maybe we did.
Yeah, but we are going to talk about when certain dentists buy expensive cars, Porsches, for example, and still not raise their staff. So their staff is still underpaid. And like I said, their staff knows exactly what's going on in the practice. Their staff is the one collecting the money from the patients. Their staff is the one paying the bills most of the times from the practice. So when this happens, and sometimes I have the feedbacks from the assistants,
We do
that
have
they're
that.
that they're bosses, in this case dentists, are always complaining about money, but then they drive a Porsche, or they have Louis Vuitton bags, so luxury items, right? They walk on the front door with all of that, and but the first thing that comes out of their mouth is complaining about money, and complaining about the money that they have to pay to their employees. So that's a big, 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 big red flag. Tell me, what are your thoughts about that?
And I think that none of us, and we talked about that. You are not, I'm not as well. We are not against
No, no,
having
no,
fancy stuff.
no, 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 no. The thing here is not about the luxury items.
Yeah, I mean, everybody should have the right to follow and to spend money in whatever you want. No, but I had to say, I have my own personal view about that. I think that the luxury market is it's a bit of a circus to me. That's what I believe it is, because there's no intrinsic quality. It's mainly about appearance, and I think that I personally, and I've talked about this in the podcast several times, but this is just an apart, a thought apart, which is I I have some bias against this type of style, let's say, because usually I if I see someone that is completely dressed with expensive luxury items that is they are really flashy and that with all the brands sticking out and stuff, I usually I usually shut down a little bit, and then I don't open myself that much to those sorts of persons. That's a bias that I have, because I really think it's a complete circus and nonsense, and I don't see the point there. But that's my personal point of view. But that's not the point here. So you should, if you want to get the Porsche, get the Porsche. If you want to get the Gucci or the Louis Vuitton, just do it. That's not the point here. The point here is what you said, is that, and this is very common, that with that, you are constantly um, you are constantly telling your nurses or your staff how difficult things are, always complaining about money, all things are very expensive, and it seems like manipulation. It seems like emotional manipulation. The problem is that people are not stupid, right? That's the issue, and I think this sort of behavior is really a no-no in in today's world, because I think that if you are not congruent with your message, um, they will resent you. That's what I think, that they will become cynic, and they do comment. They do comment a lot. And we deal with a lot of dentists, and this is a very common complaint that sometimes associate dentists have. Oh, it takes ages to pay me, but he just bought like this course, this Porsche. Or they are always complaining when they go out at lunch with us. They are always complaining about this and that and this and that. But then they just did an investment in a laser or something, um, or some very expensive equipment that they have. And lasers is usually what I hear the most. That people buy a lot of lasers. They spend a lot of money on lasers. They don't use it, and then they keep complaining about money to the staff. But when you talk about Porsches or flashy clothes or expensive clothes or even expensive equipment that you don't use, this means basically that you are spending money from the practice that is probably not being invested into the practice. And there's nothing wrong with taking money out of the practice for your own good, but what creates what creates stress in staff is that when they feel that they are not being valued simultaneously. Um, I think that the title of this podcast is a perfect example. Um, so there's usually this idea that you should buy a Porsche or you should buy a whatever, but then this needs to be congruent with your so the thing what you do needs to make sense with what you say, and people will comment. And on top of that, I think that you are losing people as a team. It doesn't make any sense to do team building, and during the team building start to say that everything is very expensive. Then they know that you are buying a Porsche. I mean, this because there's this huge difference. It seems like you are above them in some sort of way, and you should never be above anyone. And if you make more money, it can be maybe because I don't know, maybe you are just lucky. You were just born in a different family with different friends, and you were just lucky to be able to take a degree in dentistry and be successful. At the end of the day, this is now how people should differentiate themselves. I think the most important thing is actually that you show character, and character. It's difficult to justify this sort of behavior, because people do feel that, they do complain about that, they do resent that, and I think that at the end of the day, patients will feel that, will feel this a little bit of resentment and cynicism from the part of the team. And I'm sure that you heard many stories about that as well, Manuela.
Mhm. Yes, and I see that as I see that as a big red flag for lacking self-awareness. It's like you said, it's not about the luxury items, it's about self-awareness. And that lack of self-awareness indicates then that there's this poor leadership. So you have no um no good people leadership or even business leadership. You have no awareness of your impact in other people, of the impact of your behavior on other people. Because if you think about it, I mean, even I mean, like you said, if you like luxury items, it can be for several reasons. I mean, it maybe status and has to do with your ego. Maybe even for self-esteem. There is a lot of people that compensate. Their self-esteem problems with the luxury brands. But I think that it also gives a lack of financial self-awareness, and indeed, maybe some of this dentists that arrive to the practice, and the first thing that they do is complaining about money. and maybe they indeed have money problems because they are spending even too much, but that should not be by the expenses of of someone else's work. But I think that when you have that situation, and when you have a situation that that your employees are underpaid and are completely aware of the money that you make and of the money that you spend on luxury items, then you are going it's of course you are going to feel the consequence. You have to feel the consequences of that, and that usually have very negative effects on on the culture of the company. You will have a poor company culture. It's impossible. So, like you said, that will reflect on your team, and that will reflect on your patients, and that's one of the reasons why we defend that team comes first, because your team if your team is happy, if everyone is happy on working, and everyone is satisfied and feels that he's being fairly rewarded by their work, that will reflect on the company culture. That will also reflect on the retention of the staff. If if the people you are working with feel that they are being underpaid, of course they are going to look for other place to work where they earn better for the amount of hours and amount of work that they do. And of course that will lower the morale of the people working there. That will lower the performance of the people working there. It's impossible for that not to happen. It's impossible for gossip not starting to happen, for them not to comment them between them. So it's impossible for that not to happen. And of course that will lower the loyalty of the people working for you. So one thing that you defend is that if you have your team's back, they will have your back. So they if you will if you give if you show them that you will stand by them, they will show you that loyalty. This kind of situation that we are describing, you cannot expect to have loyalty from a person when that happen. So and of course, if you start to be known by this, then you will miss opportunities of hire good people. I think this I mean, your actions will speak for yourself, and this will be your brand. And so yes, I think that of course it's very easy to speak, and we know that there are certain realities. And when we speak of the Portuguese realities, I know that it's hard to pay very uh, big wages to assistants, but it's not hard for you to be very clear on the on everything, on the financial part, and also for you to try to work with incentives and try to find another ways for them to be rewarded for the work that they do, and also to respect hours, because not so long ago there were dental practices where the assistants basically had the hour that they should be at the practice, and that they had no hour to leave the practice. I usually tell this story of a colleague that she looked for me and to have some help from my side when she noticed that an assistant that she used, that they had several assistants, but one specific assistant that she had, her daughter used to rank the practice to know which doctor she was working with, because if it was with her, she know that her mother would not be home for dinner. So in that firm, and she didn't understood that this was not normal, that she was working with people that if she did overtime, those people would have to stay with her, and they will not be paid for that, but they would miss the dinner with their kids. So it's
Mhm.
still very common for dentists to take this as normal, and this is not normal.
Yeah. Yeah. And when she talked to you, was she aware of that? Or she just made a
She she said, this is not normal for me not to consider that this person was there doing overtime and that she would miss the dinner with their kid.
Yeah,
It didn't cross her mind.
yeah, but at least she started to become aware of that, right?
She started to become aware of that, and she wanted to understand what else was she
To
missing.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's
So this is still common in certain places of the world in the industry.
yeah, yeah. And
And
things are changing a lot. And as we always say, um, I was listening to someone. I think it was Danny Meyer. Is like this restaurant mogul from New York, and he was talking about the way that the implementation of culture in these restaurants has evolved over the last years. And one of the things that he said is that there was a shift in his culture. He said that the most important thing is how employees treat each other. This is more important than how they treat their customers. So this really shows the importance of respect in a team and the development of culture, because things are changing very fast. And like we always say, the way that you treat people 10 years ago should not be the way that you are treating them now. Just because it was normal to do this kind of things, of not having a fixed finishing time for your Labor Day. There are many things that are changing, and people are much more um, aware. Your staff is much more aware of how conscious you are, how caring you are. Because at the end of the day, if you care about them, they will care about you. And while we were talking, I was thinking that we may eventually some people may think, well, what if I like what about if I like a Porsche? If I want to buy a Porsche, there's nothing wrong with that. But what we are saying is that if that is the case, I think you should ask yourself, okay, so I'm buying this. I don't actually need this, right? This is something for a passion or because I like fast cars or whatever. I don't need this. I
it's
don't
not
need this.
out of necessity.
Exactly, and I mean, there are lots of studies about that. If you buy a Ferrari, it will make you happy for 1 or 2 weeks. We know that. Everybody knows that. And if you have like 10 Ferraris, you'll see that the value of that just it's just not there. That's not the kind of things where you can spend money that will make you happy. But having said that, we are all different. Let's say you really want to buy a Porsche and something that you like for whatever reason. I think you have to ask yourself, okay, I'm going to buy something that I know it will cause a certain emotional reaction in my team. Wouldn't it be better that I look at the money and have a more a more positive way of spending it? I'm not saying that you should not buy a Porsche, but at least talk to them and talk to each one of them individually. Look, we had a nice year financially last year, and we need to, and so we have some money to spend. I'm going to spend it. We need this and we need this in terms of equipment or some sort of change in the practice. Um, uh, is that something that you would like to that we can eventually spend, or you can thinking about maybe making a raise? So if your staff sees this attitude in you, that you are genuinely interested in their own good, genuinely interested that they feel better in their job, and sometimes it does not have to be money. It can be just like, for example, what Manuela said, and one of the things that I implemented in my practice of last years, which was they said, "Look, we are spending half an hour here cleaning everything." So I said, "Okay, let's just hire a cleaning company." So the cleaning company goes there every day at the end of the day, and they just clean the practice, and that's it. And it was not more money for my staff; it was just more quality, more predictability in the time that they would get home, because it makes no sense that people don't have finishing times. It just they cannot book a dinner, they cannot book theater, they cannot book a trip. It's very difficult. So I think that if you genuinely show that you are interested in their own well-being, they will not criticize your own options. If they feel that things are being balanced, they will not criticize your own options, because at the end of the day, the best investment that you can do in your practice is people, because they are the ones that will treat other people good. Are the ones that are going to talk about your practice. They especially in small cities, in small places, it's really really important. But even in bigger cities, the way that you treat your staff will ultimately will reflect in the way that they are treating customers. And also remember that if you have a factory, sometimes there's a big distance between you and your employees, and you can buy the Porsche and no one knows and whatever. But in service, so this is not a product. This is a service, and this is a team service. At the end of the day, you are working as a team, and your nurses are as important as you are. It's not that yes, you are doing the technical work at the end of the day, but they are really, really important. So if this is teamwork, it's very important that everybody feels they are on the same boat and that you genuinely show respect about them.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's in the end of the day is a, a matter of respect. Yeah. And I think that,
So,
like you said,
Manuel, you remember one thing that we discussed in the course about the studies that they did in American football regarding what's the emotional profile of the leader, and all of the studies are saying the same thing, which is the leader is the guy that can is willing to sacrifice his own ego and his own interests by placing the team first. Is willing to sacrifice his notoriety, his media exposure. It just works on the background silently, in making sure that the team can can perform well and can have all the credits. It's this ability to be able to sacrifice yourself and your ego so that the team can win. And this trait, and again, it doesn't mean that you have to sacrifice yourself. I mean, to exhaustion. It just means that people understand that you are playing a game for them to win. And this is one of the most important traits of the leader. And this is not compatible with buying expensive cars and not raising your staff, for example.
yeah, and money has to make part of that. Money has to make part of that. And even if money is not a part of that, you will reach a situation, because there are certain countries now, and I think that's a little bit all over Europe, and I'm talking about now specifically of assistants, that you are competing with the minimum wage of the state. So, so at a certain moment, you have like the minimum wage of the state will give you, or minimum wage working as an assistant, several hours a day and a hard job.
Yes,
They will choose the minimum wage
of
of the
course.
of the, of the
Of
state.
course.
And then there's this there's this big difficulty of dental clinics to find
People to work
staff,
with. Yeah.
to find dental nurses, to find receptionists. If
Yeah.
you don't pay well or at least if you don't pay fair to the work that they do, if they don't feel appreciated, if you don't have a strong company culture, if you don't have incentives, then yes, you're going to have a difficulty, or you're going to have a lot of rotation on your staff. All of those
Yeah.
negative consequences that I talked about before. But
Mm.
you are going to reach a point where you will find no one to work in your
And
clinic. It
even
will be
even
difficult.
if uh, you know that today, if you work part time in a supermarket chain, or if you work part time in even a fast food chain, you make good money. You make good money, and you have predictable working hours. You go home, it's fine. Now, if you work in the dental practice, which is stressful, and if you have a leader that is a pain in the ass, and you don't have time. You don't have a fixed time to go home, and there's no incentives, and you don't feel that this person is trying their best to make other people around them feel well. And this person, I mean the leader. If you don't feel that, I mean, it makes no sense to stay there. It's dentistry is a very specific service that you need a motivated team around you, because the challenges, the emotional challenges are quite big, and you really need to be on top of your game. And actually, this is why we created Soft Bites. This is why we created the conscious leadership course, because we know this is very difficult. It's very emotionally exhausting for you to be a dentist and to be a leader and to deal with all these with all these things. And no matter how many people we meet in dental teams, and we all we always come down to the same conclusion, that you need to have incentives. You need to pay them what is fair for the stress that they go through, because otherwise it's very difficult to keep a team motivated. Because dentistry is mainly private, and it's always going to be expensive on the eyes of the patient, right? But that money needs to be fairly distributed through the team members. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about that you have the profit and and you split the profit equally between you and your staff. I'm not talking about that, right? What I'm talking is to bring a sense of fairness. It makes no sense to try to avoid the raising of your staff, and with all these mind games of manipulation that you get to the practice with dress from top to bottom with expensive clothes, and complaining about life, and complaining about money, and complaining about patients, and then getting not getting them a raise. I don't think it makes sense, and I think it's a very bad idea. And if you think about doing that, or if you have done that in the past, I really think that you should consider, because people, they don't accept today what they accepted 10 years ago. Things are changing big time. And the online businesses have created a lot of opportunities, um, for people to work comfortably in many different jobs that can pay equally well. So if you want people to work with you, you have to be ready to pay them well. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and uh, I mean, you teach that in the course, so you can be very clear with your finances. You can be very clear with with the money that that gets in the practice, and the expenses that you have. So there's a way of that, that fairness of money can be done, and
And also, let's be honest. You cannot hide from your staff the money that you make in
you
LinkedIn.
cannot.
It's
You cannot.
impossible.
That's it.
You
They know.
can
They know
pretend that they don't.
everything.
Of course,
They know
of
everything.
course.
I once heard from an assistant, um, uh, dentists always don't have money. I don't know any dentist that has money. So
The assistants, the nurses would say,
yeah. So it's
but she was being ironic. She was being ironic, right?
yeah, she was being ironic.
Of
So
course.
it's like, yeah, it's like they're always complaining.
Always
It's never
complaining.
enough, you know. But
Where
they
does the
forget,
go from
but
that?
that they
Yeah.
forget that they are complaining. Even the ones that are not the owners of the practice, they are
Yeah.
complaining to someone that earns much.
One fourth.
Yes,
One
that's it.
fourth.
That's it.
Yeah.
So
It's stupid. It's
so it's
crazy.
like I said, it's little red flags. For me, it's little red flags of not no self awareness.
Yeah, but it's very interesting because there's and I talk a lot about this. Dentistry, the typical dentistry is a flashy person in terms of money. I see this pattern, in dentistry. Maybe not that much in Latin America, because there's often not that much money in Latin America. But there's always this pattern, Dentistry is associated with a high status, with high financial standards. And and I always find it a little bit fake, I always find that a little bit uninteresting. And if I see a dentist working too hard, um, working themselves too hard to show that they have money, it's just like it's really a turn off for me. But this is just me. But at the end of the day, for nurses,
I
it
think
it
I'm
really
always
is
interested, like some in knowing what's behind that. For example, if it's a clinic owner, how how is the employees are well are well paid, and if they are happy. That's always an interesting question
yeah.
to make in your head. But yeah, but I think things are changing. But I think there's a lot of this luxury items is for status, and like I said,
Absolutely.
maybe some for self-esteem, so you compensate certain things with over consumptions, even sometimes how much you don't like your profession, but it gives you money,
Maybe.
and
That's a good perspective.
you buy
That's
things,
a good
you know
perspective.
so yeah, it can have a lot of reasons behind that. But we go back to what we said in the beginning. Those times are over. The times that
Mm.
I mean, and you still see it in big companies, right? Like you hear the stories about Amazon and things like that, about how people are paid, and Uber drivers also. And but in dental clinics, I don't think it makes sense anymore nowadays. To have the one person earning all this money, and
Yeah.
the other ones that work a lot for the practice also being
Yeah.
underpaid.
And also,
Especially,
especially, uh,
yeah,
there's
no, I,
there's
I
the customer service is so important today.
Mhm, mhm. And especially also because dentists are not making that big money anymore. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
not like
That's
they are millionaires anymore. Sometimes the Porsche is bought in easy payments of I don't know how many years. So leasings of 4 years. Come on. So it's not like that was I don't know how many years ago. What 30, 40 years ago maybe.
maybe, maybe. But
But
there's it still happens. It still
it's
happens.
no, yeah, of course, but it's not the rule. Not they say.
Not yes, not the rule. Yes. No, I think that more and more dentists they are realizing that this is a teamwork, and you have to give them before you try to get from them. And it's 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 much more of a team effort than anything else. That's what we see.
In the end of the
The
day, it will be your team that will give you the motivation and the joy,
company item.
and it will not be the Porsche. It will be your team that will give you the joy and the
Yeah,
fulfillment
that's
of.
that's a
No.
good way to end. That's a good conclusion for this episode, which is at the end of the day, what will make you happy, a good team, a team that is excited for a dinner, a Christmas dinner, a team that is excited for a team building, a team that feels at ease at the workplace is a much better rewardment. It will give you much more enjoyment than go for the weekend, go for a weekend with a porch.
Yeah,
By far, by
yeah,
far.
yeah.
Yeah.
And for the ones listening that have a Porsche, don't feel triggered.
Nothing
Don't feel
against,
don't
nothing
feel
against.
triggered. Uh,
Actually, both
yeah.
Ate, me and Manuela, we will sooner or later get a Porsche. One of us. So,
But you know,
no, I'm just,
I don't actually. I own a car from 2007 that it's in Portugal for when I go there for I went to Sagres with it.
yeah.
And
Works.
yeah, of course it works, and I'm always very happy when I go there because I can be independent having my car there, and I don't own a car more. I own a bike. So here
And
in,
it's
in
healthier.
Belgium and France, yeah,
And it's healthier. The experience
yeah,
is more intense.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
I
it's
don't need
interesting
it
if you talk
actually.
if you
So
talk if you talk to people that are millionaires and are spending money stupidly, they will always tell you that the thrill of an expensive item can last 1 or 2 weeks. They
yeah,
would always have more fun if they went out with their friends and having some human interaction. That always makes you happy. So if you treat other people well, it's way, way better than investing your time and money in a Porsche. But again, nothing against them.
Nothing against it. Yeah. True. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you. So Manuela, we have our, I don't know if this episode will go to the air before, I probably will go to the air before our Amsterdam meeting, right?
Yeah, we're going to give the conscience leadership course in Amsterdam, 28,
Oh,
29, and
nice.
30 of November. Yes. And we are almost confirming a new data for the course in Sagres next year. We still don't have it
Nice.
confirmed, but it's going to be very, very, very soon. So for the ones interested, just go to softbites.online and all the information is there. And we are looking forward. We are looking forward for Amsterdam. We're looking forward again to Sagres. It was really, really, really nice.
It was very nice.
Yeah.
It was very nice.
Yeah.
It was a very nice experience.
And for the ones that want more information, just send us a message, send us an email. We always answer to your questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Manuel.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you
Thank you
next
for
time.
listening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.